to Stacktastic, the weekly web show for the avid comic book reader and those who aspire to become so. Now on Saturday, season 1 of The Legend of Korra finally wrapped up, so today I'm going to give my review, as well as my weekly recommendations of what comics to pick up or download this week. Let's get started. It's a great time to be an Avatar fan, and quite frankly that the franchise has to fight with James Cameron's for recognition is pretty insulting, as Nickelodeon's series is not just superior to that film, but most films. Throughout the first 3 seasons of Avatar The Last Airbender and now The Legend of Korra, I've often marveled at how these 30-minute animated episodes seem to easily achieve what the vast majority of live-action movies cannot, the marriage of great story and great action on an epic scale. Perhaps what comes closest is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that's because Jackson had the guts to take his time telling his story. Yes, I think that's the key, time. Television is trumping movies on a regular basis these days as they have hours to tell their stories. M. Night Shyamalan, when defending his horrible live-action big-screen adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender, said it was hard to fit an entire season into just 2 hours. The reason that television hasn't totally eclipsed movies is that the big screen still has the bigger budgets. But by being an animated series, Avatar is able to deliver big screen action on a television budget. And while the action pieces in Avatar The Last Airbender were stellar, The Legend of Korra amazingly blows them out of the water, particularly any scene with Lin Bei Fong. Sure, there are plenty of great characters in The Legend of Korra, but I'd say Lin Bei Fong has been the real standout, interestingly just as her mother Toph was in Avatar The Last Airbender. I'd say part of that is because earthbending and metalbending are just so powerful and visually awesome, but also because these women mean business. They're warriors who don't play around, so their fight scenes are fast and furious. The action sequence where Lin Bei Fong and Korra fight Amon in episode 6 and the winner is probably the best action sequence I've ever seen anywhere. But now we get into spoilers. On the one hand, I'm glad that Lin Bei Fong got her bending back so she'll be back in action for season 2. But on the other hand, I felt there weren't enough lasting repercussions to what's been, up until the finale, a very adult and serious season. I would have almost preferred for Korra to permanently lose her ability to bend water, earth, and fire and move on to a new avatar next season. Not that Korra would leave the show, she could help train the new avatar, but that way her heroic sacrifice wouldn't have been cheapened. Both she and Lin Bei Fong bravely put themselves in danger for the good of others, yet there is ultimately no consequences for their actions, no cost. I think that hurts the development of the characters as well as sends a dangerous message to the audience. No matter the danger, everyone gets a happy ending. In contrast, the ending for Amon was quite brilliant and poetic, not since Fredo has one last boat ride been so meaningful. But while I felt the season finale was a bit of a letdown, I'm still very much looking forward to season 2, which will hopefully continue to up the ante. And if you haven't been watching The Legend of Korra, what are you waiting for? It's available on both iTunes and the Nickelodeon website, while the original series Avatar The Last Airbender is also available on iTunes as well as Netflix. As for those of you who are watching, what did you think of The Legend of Korra Season 1? Does it do Avatar The Last Airbender justice? I've been tempted to say it's even better, but The Legend of Korra couldn't be as good as it is without the groundwork laid by Avatar The Last Airbender. Be sure to share your thoughts down below. With the 4th of July smack in the middle of next week, you might want to splurge a little this week to stock up on your holiday reading material. And oh boy, do you have a plethora of great choices. Here are the highlights. First up, start reading Batman Incorporated. We're just on issue number 2 with Batman and Talia's battle for their son heating up. As I outlined last week, Grant Morrison has created one of the most unique and interesting family dynamics in comics, and clearly DC has given him free rein to develop it further in this title. I haven't had this much fun with a Grant Morrison story since Scott and Emma's Psychic Affair. Next up, if you're hungry for something different, try the new trade Jiro from Vertigo. This is the comic book debut of Anthony Bourdain, and he tells a story in the future where food is the new focus of crime. It might sound a little silly, but then again, you don't build a career like Bourdain's without being savvy. And since you'll be on holiday, why not join the Future Foundation on theirs in FF number 19? You know, with both this trip to Wakanda and a visit to the Negative Zone last issue, it seems the Future Foundation is in a heated competition with the Jean Grey School for best class trips. Now, one book you definitely won't want to miss is Hit Girl number 1. Yes, after Kick-Ass 1 and 2, she's finally getting her own series, which takes place between those 2 volumes. Question is, does Mark Millar still have control of the character, or has she evolved beyond him since Chloe Mertz's portrayal on the big screen? And calling all Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning fans, one of the most dependable writing teams in comics debuts their new series for Boom Studios, Hypernaturals. And once again, they're writing what they know best, space. You'll probably also want to pick up the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Century 2009. Even if this series is slipping in quality, Alan Moore still knows how to get people talking, this time with a very inventive variation on Harry Potter. Finally, I urge you to double back and get last week's Uncanny X-Men number 14. It features probably the best Mr. Sinister story I've ever read, and the best X-Men story I've read in a long time. And it's only just beginning. Don't miss out. And that's this week's Stacktastic. I'm Grace Randolph for Think About the Ink. I hope to see you back on Friday for Between the Pages. Until then, happy reading.